The UN has raised alarm over a sharp increase in the execution of Ukrainian soldiers by Russian forces, with 79 executions reported in just 24 incidents since last August. Meanwhile, Russia has suffered a significant loss with the death of Sergei Efremov, the deputy governor of the Primovsky Krai region, killed by a landmine in Kursk during ongoing military operations. In a rare piece of good news, Ukraine successfully returned 12 children forcibly taken to Russia as part of its Bring Kids Back UA initiative. Meanwhile, Ukraine's military claimed responsibility for successful strikes on Russian energy facilities, hitting a refinery in Volgograd and a gas plant in Astrakhan, key suppliers to Russia's military operations. On the European front, EU leaders have committed to strengthening their defence capabilities in response to ongoing threats from Russia. Joining us first to discuss this story, we have Aditya Wadwan, our correspondent. Aditya, I'd like some more information looking specifically at this UN report that has come out regarding executions of soldiers who are being held.
Well, Josh, if you see the UN Human Rights Monitoring Mission has reported alarming number of execution of the Ukrainian soldiers by the Russian armed forces. The Ukrainian mission has reported that many war crimes have happened by Russia. As per the international humanitarian law, it is prohibited to execute the prisoners of war and the wounded soldiers. So this tantamounts to the war crimes by the Russia. And what is significant here is, Josh, most of the Ukrainian soldiers who had surrendered or were in the custody of the Russian armed forces were shot dead on the spot. So this needs to be seen as to when would all this be stopped? Yes, Josh, back to you in the studios.
It is also worth mentioning that in this US report that there is detail of a Ukrainian execution of a Russian soldier. We will come back to that, but joining us first to discuss this overall topic regarding the war in Ukraine, we have Gautam Mukherjee, who is a senior journalist. Gautam Mukherjee, thank you very much for your time. I want to focus now on the strikes that we've seen hitting parts of the Russian energy infrastructure. What do you think Ukraine's goal is behind these strikes?
Well, I think they're trying to intensify the battle because Russians have been making gains in a number of areas. They've been taking territory. They are, as you've pointed out, executing a lot of Ukrainian soldiers in order to demoralize the rest. So this is an intensification of the war at a time when both sides are fairly exhausted because it's been going on for nearly a little over 2 years now. And it is time to bring it to a close, settle matters, get into the negotiating table and figure out who gets what and stop the fighting.
Also joining us is Dr. Sergei Dvoryanov, who is the Director of Communication on the BCMF BRICS Culture Media Forum, joining us live from Moscow in Russia. Dr. Dvoryanov, I'd like to get your response on this UN claim that Russians are executing soldiers at a rising rate, at an alarming rate.
Namaskar. First of all, I want to say that today we celebrate International Day of Human Fraternity. And it was 2019 famous meeting in Abu Dhabi, where two spiritual leaders, one of them, it was a Pope of Vatican, Francisco, and the second was Chief Imam, Ahmad Al-Tayeb. They wrote and put signature of the very important document, Human Brotherhood for World Peace and Living Together. That's why I want just remind, and to start my speech, remind about significance of this 4th of February, significance of this day. We should come again to the human rights. We should come again to the mercifulness in our hearts. And of course, our civilization, Christian civilization, is a civilization where we always promote and support these traditional values. And war is always war. And that is a conflict. I agree with a colleague, with the previous speaker who told about intensification of the war, because it's some dramatic point of history where we can completely understand that it was a conflict of civilization between West and East part of the world.
Yes,
Right
Dr.
now,
Dr. Dvoryanov, though, I'm asking you specifically about the UN report about executions, and I'd like your response to that specifically.
See, of course, I have, we can only explain our human reaction for this. Because, you see, we cannot expect anything else. Because I think that all world media should talk more about peace and about the possibilities to put all leaders and negotiate with the peace is most important. It's a human resource. We should spiritualize all politicians to make peace on the basic level. That is most important, for my opinion. Thank you.
Do you think that these executions are bringing Russia closer to peace? Do you think executions from the Ukrainian side are bringing them to the table as well? It seems that although discussions have been mentioned with Donald Trump, it seems that, as you've mentioned already, the fighting has intensified. So what needs to happen to get that closer to a reality?
Reality is that right now, Mr. Zelensky, previous president of Ukraine, he has no any resources to fight with Russia. That's why he always he always do some and increase some provocative actions to put more attention on his personality. And of course, we should not react. We should not increase this level of aggressive mood. We should be more wisdom. And only one way, I believe, only one way. I believe that Donald Trump is peacemaker. And of course, we should bring some international experts to start to negotiate world dialogue of the peace on Ukraine, on the eastern part of Europe. It's most important. And of course, we cannot expect from Russia any aggressive or anti-human actions. It is not in our nature, it is not in our blood. We always try to support small nations. That is in our history. And again, I want to tell that it's not conflict against our brother nation, Ukrainian, which is also against Slovenian nation. We are not only neighbors, we are brothers. But this conflict was created by the third part. That is most important. And third part should take care how to negotiate with peace.
Gautam Mukherjee, before we move on very quickly, I want to discuss the EU's potential plans to sort of stretch their rules to enable more defence spending. Is this, do you think, a direct reaction to Vladimir Putin?
I think it's saber-rattling, basically, Joshua, because they have very little money and they have very little by way of armaments that they can spare from their own defense requirements. To take on Russia, this was a misguided plan from the start. Ukraine was always meant to be a buffer state, not a state into which the West is going to encroach and come up to Moscow. Now that they've done so and spent a lot of money, mostly American money, to bring the war to this pass, now the American money is going to dry up. And I do not think that the EU is in a position to step up and fill the gap. They have no choice but to come to the negotiating table.